Now Dan Wolken of USA Today wonders about what the reaction might be if college football players decide to follow in Kaepernick's footsteps, writing, quote, what would happen if a star college football player, particularly at a high-profile school in the Deep South, wore a Black Lives Matter shirt during warm-ups or used a post-game media session to talk about police brutality and racial profiling rather than the game? All right, Cowherd, will college players emulate NFL protests this season?
No. What would happen if that happened with Nick Saban? You wouldn't play next week against Vanderbilt. Some have real leverage. They have guaranteed money. The organization's $80 million into them. You got to get something out of it. You can't have dead cap money. Players, quarterbacks, stars, players in pro sports have leverage. Heck, the NBA is a players' league, not even a coaches' league. College players, you do get that Alabama every year, USC every year, Ohio State every year gets 25 new number one picks. You have an attitude, they draft they recruit six running backs a year.
I agree. And
4 defensive ends a year.
You know what that means? They got a lot of disgruntled people that thought they were headed to the NFL, that thought they were going to be millionaires. And they get to their junior or senior year. It's like, hey, what can I do since I'm the backup player and Nick Saban or whoever my coach is has screwed me over? What can I do? Oh, that's right. I can complain about injustices somewhere and start my Twitter profile growing. And people like Dan Wolken who are writing pieces, basically, that's what this piece was. Hey, here's some ideas. That's what this piece was. Hey, here's some ideas for you guys. If you want to join Colin Kaepernick, wear T-shirts before the game, Black Lives Matter. Do I think some college kids are going to take the bait? Absolutely.
Team told their players that they cannot protest or in any way prevented it, that would be a huge proud. And I'm not for preventing them from doing that. But what Dan Wolken actually mentioned in his article was that he was for trying to make it more of a group thing rather than one individual player protesting by himself, which I am in support of, because I wouldn't want to see one college kid get called out or treated or have the backlash that Colin Kaepernick has for doing what he's doing. So if they can do it in some sort of group setting, I think that would be better and beneficial in a college setting. And also, national anthems in college are in the national anthems in college are in the locker room.
Yeah, the players,
and some are out, and some are out on the field. So it looks a little different.
Yeah, Colin, you mentioned leverage, and I completely disagree. I don't think it has anything to do with leverage. Nothing to do with leverage. It has everything to do with the platform. You give someone a platform and an opportunity to make a statement, and they have just that right to make a statement. And so what we've seen in times past, whether it be with handshake, touchdown celebrations, whatever, you see it in the pros, you see it in college. The more you see it in the pros, the more it trickles into college. So what we're seeing over the course of the NFL, across our league, you are definitely going to see it happen in college football. And I believe that I don't think it's fair for us to say don't do it or do it, because I think it's one of those things where I think sometimes we underestimate the knowledge that these student athletes have. I just took my kids on a trip to the National Museum of African American History and Culture. My youngest two, who are 6 and 4 years old, it impacted them. I'm not saying it didn't impact my older two. My 6-year-old cried, my 4-year-old cried, for 2 different reasons, because it touched them in different areas. So it's a matter of if it indirectly affects you or directly affects you. Whatever climate, our economic climate, whatever social issues, however you feel it affects you, you should be able to showcase that.
Okay, but the question is, will college football players emulate the NFL? Outside of Belichick, fans all want their coaches fired. In college, the communities worship the coaches. You get a player out of line, Saban's the king, or Bob Stoops was the king. Outside of Belichick, players who make money are resistant. college unpaid 18-year-olds in a town that worships Saban are going to go out on their
I
own.
think you create a completely different issue there. Like, to your point, you create a completely different issue
If you
stop them from
No,
doing it.
you don't have to. There's unspoken things. Like
Colin-
Nick
What is
to
that?
say anything. It's understood to say anything. It's understood Nick runs the show.
Okay, are you watching what's going on college?
Yes, but I don't sit on social media, and I think a lot of it's overstated.
Cal Berkeley, did you see the
Cal
fight?
Berkeley is so far left.
Okay,
it's-
well let's go to Ole Miss.
let's go to Southern School.
Yeah, let's go to Ole
Alabama.
Miss. I want to go to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
What just happened? Literally, they had summer retreat for college Greek organizations,
Yeah.
black and white. They had to shut it down because 2 black girls saw a banana peel on a tree that some kid couldn't find a trash can and put a banana peel on a tree because he couldn't find a trash can. They felt they were offended. They shut the whole thing down and everybody went home. That's the college climate we have right now. People are walking out of their dorms. People are look, where can I be offended?
But the football culture isn't the left-wing academic culture. The football culture is
You're not listening to these athletes.
coach. By the way, all these college athletes years ago were offered to unionize. None did. They were offered to be paid. They could vote yes. They voted no. If they have all this power, they were offered the opportunity to get paid. In liberal Northwestern, they voted no.
Kyle, I'm just all this control that you, man, I'm
talking college, not.
man, I'm
talking college, not.
Great friend of mine. I'm gonna just say, great friend of mine. I'm gonna just say his first name, Mose. I saw him beat up our defensive line coach right on the field. You know, they just don't have this control. And if I had a shot at the offensive line coach, Dave McAdoo, I certainly, that's one of my big regrets. And so they just don't have the control. that you
By the way,
think they
I
have.
am not saying kids, I'm not telling people what to do. What I'm saying is, if you think it takes courage for a millionaire,
I don't think it took
a pro-millionaire to battle a coach, what about an 18-year-old battling Nick Saban? That's a tough spot for a kid.
I need to bring my coach in here because
it's
I
greater
went to
than-
war with him every day, and I wasn't even that good. Coming up,